You're still watching the AM show on Joy News. And now we're gearing up for the third clinic of the EcoBank JoyNews Habitat Fair. Get a house, make it a home. That's the theme. And as we discuss some issues, to bring you an in-depth understanding of what really goes into getting a house and making it a home, this morning we want to consider what should be important to you when acquiring a land and related matters. Private legal practitioner, Mr. John A. Akaze Esquire, is in the studio with me. Hi, John.
Hi, sweetie.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
A little bear just whispered to me that you're a Chelsea fan.
Yes.
Your secret is out of the bag.
Oh.
So with the transfer window, nearing a close now, what are the highlights for you? Who are you happy about?
I'm happy about our star boy, of course.
Okay.
Palmer, the star boy of the EPO.
Okay.
So look out for him.
So all good. We should look out for him.
Yes.
Right. So we want to have a conversation about land acquisition, getting a home, advantages and disadvantages when it comes to either buying a house or building one. But the most important bit in all of this is the land acquisition. And I think you were just telling me that, in fact, land disputes make up majority of our cases in the courts. And that's important. And I think it's because people don't understand what really goes into it. And so they land themselves in trouble. So just to start the conversation, could you explain the different types of land ownership in Ghana and how they affect, land itself acquisition?
Thank you, Siti. And good morning to your viewers.
Yeah.
Land acquisition in Ghana, it's in the very nature of the land itself. This is where the problem starts from.
Yeah.
Land is fixed. You cannot expand it, even though in other jurisdictions or in other places, they are now claiming the ocean as part of them.
Yeah.
But in Ghana, we haven't gotten to that level yet.
We came to meet it, we will leave it
So
here.
our land is fixed. So because of that, we do not have lands which are there for future generations if you do not take care of the ones that are still available.
What did you say about lands belonging to us? You said land belongs to the living,
Yes. So
the dead?
in dealing, yes, in dealing with land, you have to always take into consideration that the land that you are dealing with belongs to the living, the dead, and the unborn generation.
That's very important to consider.
Yes. So land, but that's what people tend to forget. So they deal with land as if it is for we who are living today. But that is not the case. If that were the case, then the past generations, that's the dead, would have exhausted what we have today. So they back to your point.
Yeah, about the different types.
Yeah,
we keep hearing stool land, we hear family land, we hear government land.
Yes.
What are these various types and how does acquisition actually affect
So
them?
the various lands that we have land is owned by the stools, the various stools, or skin.
Yeah.
That's in the northern part of Ghana.
Part.
We also have family lands too as well, and we have public lands.
Okay.
Yes. So the various land ownership has their distinct features that a would-be buyer, or anyone who is trying to buy land, you would be interested in knowing the land that I'm buying it from a stool, am I buying it from a family, or am I acquiring it from the state? That's public lands.
Right.
So all these various forms of land ownership have their features, which is very important when you want to acquire land.
When you say stool land or a would-be buyer is buying a land from a stool or a skin, what does it mean? It means that there's a group. Does it mean there's a group of people, like a chieftaincy group, and they have a head, and the land belongs to the entire chieftaincy or the group or the clan? Explain that to us.
Yes, when it comes to stool lands, yes, the land belongs to the people, but the occupant of the stool or the skin is holding the land in trust for the people. So when the stool wants to sell or you want to acquire land from a stool, you need to know the person claiming to be the occupant of the stool. Is he really the occupant of the stool? Because we have had instances of people who parade themselves as chiefs or caretakers or regents. You know, they are not. Because now all we see is that people go and acquire all these things that people wear as chiefs.
Ah, right.
So
the regalia.
The regalia,
Yeah.
the regalia, yes. So they put on the regalia, parade themselves as the chiefs.
Meanwhile, they're not actually chiefs.
Yeah, they're not
and
actually
they'll sell
chiefs.
lands to you,
Yes,
and
they
then
sell
land
lands
in
to you.
trouble.
Yes, because most often you are not from there. So when you see the person parading himself and he has some backup support, maybe he's working with an entourage, and they hail him as the chief. You may think that he's the chief, but we have various ways of becoming a chief. You must even come from the appropriate family and the lineage. So you cannot all of a sudden just hold yourself as a chief.
So, I mean, your expertise is in land cases or land law, right?
Among others, yes.
Among others, yes.
Among
so
others, yes.
How do you avoid these pitfalls? For example, if I want to buy a land from here in Accra,
yes,
what do I do? If that land falls in the category of stool land, what do I do? Take us through the processes.
So, first of all, speak to a lawyer.
Ah.
But
do people do that? Do they actually speak to lawyers?
Most often not. Most often we don't. And that is why we have this, our courts inundated with so many land cases, because of the fact that people think that maybe legal services are expensive. However, it is better to pay a lawyer maybe a fee to go through the processes for you from the outset.
Okay.
So that you don't get into deeper troubles before you now start calling a lawyer. Because when you acquire the land and you have parted with huge sums of money, I don't think you let go. So it will be very important that you involve a lawyer in all these things.
That's
However,
first on your list.
Yes,
get a lawyer.
Get a lawyer.
Okay.
However, people usually don't get lawyers. So I will take them through. If you do not want to take a lawyer and you want to do it by yourself,
okay.
Even though that has its, as I just said, its effects or its negative effects on it. You may want to know, as we were saying, the owner of that land. The land that I'm about to buy, who owns it? So that will determine how you approach the buying process. So if it is a stool land, as I said earlier, you
need a chief.
You need a chief with the consent and concurrence of the principal elders of the stool. So the
principal elders?
Yes.
Do we have people who are not principal elders?
Oh, of course. There are elders who are subjects of the stool, but they are not principal.
And this affects land acquisition how?
It does, because you in the stool they have the various clan heads.
Yes.
So if you want to acquire land, and this applies to the various customs, it doesn't apply universally. So if it is an account stool, there are principal members or elders who are supposed to, elders who are supposed to sign the document or execute the document together with the chief to make it a valid sale. So if you were to buy the land from only the occupant of the stool, be it the chief or the caretaker or a regent, it is of no effect. You have acquired nothing.
That's void.
Yes, it's void. And one day you'll be there and someone comes and says that the person that you acquired the land from didn't have the right to sell this land, or he ought not to have sold it to you on his own accord.
You're saying that, so even if a chief decides to sell a piece of land to me
Yes.
as an individual, on the blind side of these principal elders or members of the family, which is maybe the clan heads of the various sectors of the family. Every family has smaller groupings within. These smaller groupings, if they find out eventually that I've bought that piece of land, no matter I have the indenture and all that, they can actually take me to court.
Yes.
Because that sale is void.
Yes, that sale is void because if you buy nothing, you acquire nothing. So the law is clear. And as we say in the local parlance, ignorance of the law is not an excuse.
Yeah.
So the law is clear that before buying the land, the chief alone cannot. And as I said earlier, the Stool land does not belong to the chief personally. He's holding it in trust for the people. So something that you are holding in trust, if we do not put checks and balances by involving other members of the Stool to check so that you can sell land to people. Maybe the chief alone will just be selling the lands to whoever he wants to. And by the time the people know, all their lands are gone. So this is the reason why in buying land, you have to be careful that the right thing has been done, that just not only the chief that has signed the document for you, and even that the people that he says are principal members are in effect really principal members of him, because he could do so with his immediate family.
We actually see that happening a lot.
Yeah, we do.
Chiefs on their own accord just go out and sell land.
Or with their sons. Yes.
Or with their sons.
Yes, with their son. And your son is not a principal member of the Stool. So you have to do so with the consent and concurrence of the principal.
And the law, the new land law caters for this?
Yeah, yes, this is already something that is in existence. Yes, but the Land Act has, it comes to strengthen and to harmonize all the laws concerning land. Yes, so these are things that we already...
Okay, so first, get a lawyer.
Yes, get a lawyer.
Second, confirm or verify or fact check that whoever is selling the land to you has the consent of the principal elders of the family, either the chief...
Yes, that is if it is Stool land.
If it's Stool land.
Yes, if it is family, the same way. Family, head of family.
Oh, yes. So chief and principal elders only for the Stool land?
Yes, for the Stool land.
And then we have family land.
Yes, so family land. Yes, family land we have, so you need the head of family. And with this, he also needs the consent and concurrence of the principal members of that family too as well. So he cannot do it alone. So
no one person can just get up and sell a piece of land on their own?
No, yes, and...
Let me create this scene. Let's say my husband and I have a piece of land we want to sell to you, John.
Yes.
What would you be looking out for?
Yes. So we are now moving to individuals.
Okay. Then I jump the gun.
Yes.
You finish from family land, and then we get to individuals.
Yes. So family land. So with family,
I was thinking that a family unit, as in a nuclear family, falls in that category, but it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. Okay. When we say family, it means a larger family. Yes. So with a larger family, we have the various forms of appointments of heads of family. So depending on the ethnic group, depending on the culture or the custom of the place, we have the various forms of, or various ways of appointing head of family. So if a person has been validly appointed as a head of family, then he, together with some principal members of the family, can validly sell land to you. So you need to know that the person who says, I'm selling a land at Amasaman for you, is he the head of family? Or he's just an old man? Being an old man is not the same as head of family. Head of family, as I said, it has its way, depending on the custom. The various customs determines how head of families are appointed.
Yeah, so I mean, it's different for the Akans, it's different from Asabes, it's different from the Gans.
Yes, it's different from one group to another. So if the head of family has been validly appointed and he sells the land to you with the consent and concurrence of some principal members of the family, it's valid. However, the difference here is that head of family alone can't sell the land to you, but it's voidable. When we say it's voidable, it means that it can be set aside at some point.
Or it can be contended.
Yes, but with the stool land, it's void ab initio. It never happened.
Okay.
It never happened. You never acquired anything. But with the head of the family land, if he sells the land to you, and it later on came to light that he did it alone without the consent of the principal members, it is for the principal members to come and say whether they ratify what he has done, or they support, or they would go with this
that
decision that he has taken, or they do not go by it.
If they don't go by it, what happens?
If they don't go by it, it means that it will eventually become void. Yes, because they are the principal members, and they said no, because of due to reason A, B, C, D, we do not think that this land should be sold to this person. Then the next category is the individual, individual private lands. So if you, as you gave me the instance that you have land and you wanted to sell, you who is buying need to know. You have seen the person wearing a ring, or he's a married man or a married woman. It's incumbent on you to ask the person whether you have the consent of your spouse to dispose of this land. That is.
What if the land is in my name?
It doesn't matter.
Really?
What matters, yes, what matters is that it was acquired during the pendency of the marriage. So if you got married in 2020, you acquired the land in 2021, it is presumed that both of you have interest in that land. So if you want to sell the land to another person, you need the written, and the Land Act does not just say consent, but written consent of your spouse.
Written consent?
Yes, written consent.
Okay.
And so oral.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work, because for the reasons being that one day it comes up that, or maybe litigation. If there's litigation, then you have to go to court. You pull up the consent. I got the consent. Someone says that I did not consent to my husband selling the land to you. Then you pull up and say, I have your signature here. This is your signature. You signed to it, and you consented to the selling of this land to me. However, if you do not get that consent and you buy the land, one day the woman comes up and says that this land was acquired by both of us during the dependency of the marriage. So when my husband was selling to you, or my wife was selling to you, he or she ought to have gotten my consent, which he didn't. So I'm saying that I'm not going through with this sale.
In all the categories you've given us, it's very important that you ascertain the ownership of that land you wish to buy.
Very critical.
So even if it's a stool land, the chief or the occupant of that stool, together with the principal elders of that family. Even if it's that stool, if it's a family land you wish to buy, then the family head, confirmed family head, based on the customs or the ethnic ways, differences that we appoint family heads, together with the principal members of that family. If it's an individual person, the land is in your name. And if the person is married, you need the consent of their spouse before you can acquire the land. Great. So what happens after ascertaining the ownership of the land you wish to buy?
So the next stage is that you would like to know what interest does the person or the entity have in that land.
Why is that important?
When we say interest, it means due to this conversation, I'll limit it to leasehold. So we have various interests in land. So we have those who had the land by discovery, those who maybe they were the earliest people to settle on that land and all that. However, now there are no vacant lands for people to go and settle on or not. So people are able to sell either a freehold to you or a leasehold.
Okay.
But generally, we most of the land acquisitions that we see today, it's a leasehold. So the leasehold is what we usually get the 99 years.
Okay.
So if you are buying from, let's say, a Stool, you will be getting the leasehold.
The leasehold, which gives you the land for 99
years. Depending on who you are.
Oh.
Yes. That is for Ghanaians. If you're a non-Ghanaian, you cannot get more than 50 years.
Oh, so if you're a citizen,
yes,
then you get the leasehold, which gives you the land
years.
for 99 years.
Yes.
But if you're a non-citizen, you get only up to 50 years.
Up to 50 years, which is at every time. That means that you get 50 years. Maybe if the 50 years is gone, it's elapsed, then you need another 50 years. But you cannot get above 50 years.
No, clarify. After
Yes.
the 50 years, what do you do?
Yes, so after the 50 years, you have to approach your grantors again, the people who sold the land to you, if all of you are alive. So you have to go and speak to them again for a renegotiated price of the land. You have to buy it again.
You have to buy it again?
Yes, of course. You have to buy it again because the lease has expired.
Right.
Yes, the lease has expired. However, if...
Which means you can't will that land to your descendants.
You can. However, when the time is due, it means that it doesn't go to them. It can't pass on to them. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, back to the...
what happens after ascertaining the
yes,
ownership?
Yes. So, you have to get the interest of the person. So, if the person has 99 years, if the person is the original owner, let's say chief or family, you get the 99 years. If the person is a member of the family and also has the right to sell to you, you get the leasehold of 99 years. However, so as you were giving the instance of you and your husband selling land to maybe me. So you bought it in 2000. You got 99 years. And you are selling it in 2010. You don't have 99 years anymore. That's one of the things that people fail to know. That when someone buys land for 99 years and he's selling to you, he's not selling to you 99 years because he doesn't have it. So you can only buy the residue, what we call the residue. And that is, the person may decide to sell all of it to you. So if he stayed on the land for 10 years and he's selling the rest to you, he will sell 80 years to you. That is what we call an assignment.
Okay.
Yes. So you need to know what is the interest I'm getting from this land. Is it an assignment? Am I getting a lease? Am I getting a sublease? So if the person also has 99 years, he may decide that instead of giving you all the 99 years, I may want to give you 40 years so that the 55 years or 59 years
comes back to
you. Yeah, it comes back to me.
Okay.
So that after 40 years, the land goes back to him. That is a sublease. If you give part of what you have, the years you have, part of the years you have, you give it out to somebody,
Okay.
it's a sublease. But however, if you give the entire duration of what is left on your lease to is an assignment.
And this all reflects in the land title and documentation processes.
Yes.
Right? So let's
Yes.
talk about that.
Yes.
What are the procedures to register land and get an indenture? Is that what it's called?
Yes, the indenture.
Yeah.
Usually. So
Walk us through the processes of
Yes,
documenting a land after you've ascertained the ownership, checked on the interest,
yeah.
confirmed whether it's a leasehold for 50 years or 99 years. What next?
So what next for you to do is the documentation.
Yes.
Yes. And I think I jumped something.
Okay.
We need to know that after ascertainment of all these things, there's something we call due diligence. And these processes are all part of the due diligence. But there are some other things that you have to do. For example, you could make inquiries around the land. go and speak to neighbors. Yes, you can be holding an indenture, holding everything, but the land that you have bought, you go and speak to the neighbors.
What are you looking for? What kind of information are you
Yes,
sourcing
you
from
want to be asking, do you know who owns this land? Then they say, oh, somebody say, oh, the person who owns this land lives in Germany. So it has to click on you that. Then the person I bought from may just be a caretaker and not the real owner. Because there are various forms. You may be exercising some ownership of land, but you are not really the owner. Maybe the person bought the land and he's living abroad and he puts you in charge. So you go on the land every day. So people may think that you are the owner of the land, but you are not. So you have to speak to neighbors to confirm that he's the true owner. However, this is because we are talking about we doing it on our own. But however, if you were to engage a lawyer, it would have been different. Okay. The lawyer would have conducted due diligence searches and all those things to ascertain if the land is a registered land. So that now comes to how, after getting your indenture or the abstract of title, what you should do next. So what you should do next is if you wish to register your land, or that is if the land you acquired is in a registrable area. It's not every area in Ghana that has lands that can be registered. So most of the Greater Accra, Greater Kumasi, yes, these are places that you can register your land. Yes, and it's
okay, so what are some of the common mistakes that people make in terms of documentation? In terms of documenting their lands. What are some of the common mistakes that people make?
Yeah, some of the mistakes will be that you did not conduct the due diligence searches at the lands. So apart from just having the indenture, and usually the indenture comes with a site plan. But have you gone further to conduct a search at the lands to know whether that land is actually the land that you have bought? Because there are times that they describe a land. Usually when you buy land, there's a schedule which describes where the land is located and all that. And the site plan that is attached talks about the land that is lying somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, we have encountered that in court. But the land that you actually thought you had bought is not the land which is the site plan that is attached to your land. So if you had conducted searches or you had sent your own private surveyor onto the land, sometimes that is very critical, that you, apart from the site plan they have given you, you also go onto the land with your surveyor, especially if the site plan they have given you is the old type. Now, with the new type of plans that we have the cadastral. So that is what is acceptable by Lands Commission. So if you want to register your land and you don't have the cadastral, that is the starting point. You have to have the cadastral. Okay. So if it is the old site plan without the barcode and all that, you won't be able to register it. So you have to send a surveyor onto the land to take the coordinates, prepare a cadastral plan for you with the barcode. Then you go on to the other steps of registration.
But it's very important, absolutely important, that you register your land, is it not?
Oh yes, it shows that you have an unimpeached interest or title to the land. That is because when in a registered land, if someone wants to sell that land to another person and the person conducts a search, you'll see that the person who is claiming to be selling the land, his name is not on the land as he purports to be selling to. So registration is very, very important, very, very critical.
And if you actually, do all these 4 processes that you've given us so far, 4 or 5. There's the beginning, first ascertain the ownership, second interest of the land, third do your due diligence, and then 4th documentation and registration, right?
Yes.
Now, if you do all that, you are avoiding future disputes. However, we do have lots of land cases in our courts. What explains it? Or what are some of the common types of land disputes in Ghana, and how can we, listening to you now, avoid them?
Yes, sweetie, it goes back to my earlier statement that land is fixed. The nature of land is that it's fixed. So we have exhausted most of the lands that we have. So we are all scrambling to fit in.
Yeah. This small Accra, especially.
Yes, is a commodity that is not easily available anymore. So that is one of the reasons why we have so much litigation in land. And it is the way lands has been handed down to us. And that is, most parts of the Ghana, as I mentioned earlier, the land is owned by the Stool family or individuals. How did they come into owning this land? It is passed through oral history. So there are issues of boundaries. Yes, because it is that our forefathers were the first to settle on this land.
Yeah.
Our family conquered this family and settled on these lands. These are not,
my land ends here and yours begins there. And
these are not
the conflicts.
Things that are documented for us to know whether what you are saying is true. But it is oral history that has been passed on. So that accounts for most of the boundary disputes and who owns this land and all that. And we also have the issue of greed. Now people sell land to somebody. Maybe in the next 5 years, the land has appreciated in value. He wants to sell it to another person. That's the double sale of land. Yes, people do that because of greed. So we will continue to have these land litigations.
Yeah.
And the other one is the failure to conduct the due diligence or not involving a lawyer at the outset.
Having done all this, do you still need a building permit to build your dream house?
Yes.
What's the significance of that, and what are the challenges you stand to face if you don't?
Building permit is a requirement for all buildings in
Because
Ghana.
most people confuse, documentation and title and all that with the building permit.
Yeah.
So clarify that.
The building permit is something that you have to approach the municipal assembly or the district assembly where you acquire the land. So you need to know, they require some things, the site plan, the drawings, the kind of building that you are going to put up and all that. They need to know so that they give you advice on how to go about it. And the land may be a marshy area, maybe there are technical people at the lands, at the district assembly, the planning units of those assemblies who would go through all the processes for you to acquire a permit. And a permit is very important before you even attempt to put up a building, or else they may come and get a court order to pull it down.
Right. This has been an insightful conversation, and we will wrap up in a few minutes. But let's talk about financing for land acquisition. Do you think that we have financing options available for young people to acquire lands in this country? And I mean, it's your being out there dealing with land issues here and there. What has inflation done to the value of lands now as we speak?
With the financing, I don't know if I'm the right person to know.
Okay.
Yes,
but
maybe the finance people. Yes, but most people acquire lands through their own coffers. I know there are some banks and some institutions that are giving mortgage loans and all that, but they give it to the formal sector or the people who have, yes, someone, a woman in Mokola or someone who is engaged in trading. Maybe the requirement for you to be able to access a loan.
True. Okay, so let's move away from that.
Yes.
In terms of environmental and regulatory considerations, there are instances where you have a land, you've done your due diligence and all that, but there are some environmental regulations that, prohibit you from building how you want, in the style that you want, on a particular land. And it's just some sort of considerations from regulations and environmental agencies.
Yes, so that is the assembly at the area where you acquire the land, and there are units, government units, that are responsible for all these things.
And they can actually put restrictions on the type of building you should put up?
Of course. The reason being that there are places that are zoned for recreational purposes.
Okay.
That are zoned for, maybe the place is supposed to be a road, or it's supposed to be a future park for children or something. So you need to have all these things considered. So if you, let's say you acquire a land that is not, that has been zoned for, let's say, forestry purposes.
Okay.
You may not be having good title because you acquired it for the wrong purposes. And we also have industrial areas, places that are set out for industries.
Yeah.
We have places that are set out for residential purposes. We have places that are set out for commerce. So you, if you were to, that is why you realize that some residents take churches to court.
Ah, yeah.
Yes, because it's zoned out to be a
residential area, and then you put up a church.
Also,
I can sue my neighbors.
Yes.
I have a church right beside my house.
In fact, there are court cases that the residents have won those cases against the churches. Okay. So you need to do maybe a soundproof church that the sound doesn't go out. So these are some of the things that you consider, that it must, what you want to do conforms to how the place has been zoned.
True.
Yeah, whether that the purpose for which the place has been zoned out for.
John?
Yes, sweetie.
What will be your final word? I mean, and right before I let you go, would you say it's more prudent to build a house or to buy one? And then you can give me your final thoughts. Or your advice to people hoping to acquire a piece of land.
If you have the means to acquire, why not? You can just buy one.
Yeah.
Buy one, but all of them have their advantages and disadvantages. Yes. Yeah. So if you buy a land, for instance, and everything is in place, you build your future dream house, however you want it to be. That is how you want it. You build it the way you want. However, if you acquire or if you buy an already built house too, that is on to you. Maybe you have seen the specs, you have seen that everything is in place and you're buying.
It's about personal preferences.
Yes.
So wait, if you buy a house on a piece of land that, what should I use the word, expires in 10 years, what do you do when that time is up? Maybe it was bought for, the leasehold, 99 years, but you've only come to occupy that house for 20 years and your time is up. What do you do?
That is the problem. It's a very big issue that when people are buying houses, they do not know what they are buying. To them, they think they are buying
a house forever.
That may not be the case.
Yeah.
Maybe the person has stayed on the land for 60 years. He has stayed on the land for 80 years. So what he has is 10 years. So when you don't do the due diligence properly and you buy that house, it means that you live in that house for 10 years.
Your advice to those seeking to acquire land?
Yes, my advice is get a lawyer. Get a lawyer. It's always good to pay the legal fees, which is usually not anything huge, than to get into litigation and you now come. When you get into litigation, it's the fees is a bit expensive than if you had spoken to the lawyer earlier to conduct all the due diligence processes for you.
Will we see you at the mini fair or the main fair?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay.
I'll be.
I would like to continue the conversation over there.
Right.
But, I mean, to those of you watching us, remember that the third mini fair is coming off on the 13th of September to the 15th of September at Accra Mall from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. That is the third mini fair, the JoyNews EcoBank Habitat Fair happening. The main fair, though, is coming off on the 30th of October to the 2nd of November at the International Conference Center. However, what you're seeing on your screen right now is our third mini fair, the build-up to the main fair. And it's still on the theme, get a house, make it a home. Don't forget, Accra Mall, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And it's from September 13th to September 15th, 2024. Mr. John A. Agazi Esquire.
Akazi.
Agazi.
Akazi.
Akazi. Akazi, where are you from?
I'm from Bolga.
Oh, Bolga, okay.
Precisely Zoko.
Zoko.
In fact, I'm proud of my place, so
yeah.
Usually I'm from Zoko. So.
Thank you so much for shining light on all the important things that should be considered when acquiring a land.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure.
Yes.
There's still more coming your way on the AM show. I'll be right back.